This was just the latest in a series of leaks of the U.S. government's most guarded cyber-espionage capabilities. Meanwhile, cyber spies in other countries continue to work under the cover of relative darkness. And it raises a question. In the daily digital struggle in the shadows, is the U.S. falling behind?
It is extremely worrisome that this kind of very sensitive information is just being thrown out there by Wikileaks.
This alleged leak should concern every single American in terms of the impact it has on our national security.
If people are worried about their privacy and companies are worried about their products, American spies are worried about their edge.
This is CIA's Edward Snowden.
That big.
This is huge.
In 2013, Edward Snowden famously stole and selectively leaked the NSA's surveillance tools. Last year, a shadowy group tried to auction off what it said were NSA hacking tools. And now it's happened to the U.S. again, courtesy of Wikileaks.
They claim to be a transparency organization. I wish the hell they would emphasize transparency in some of the world's autocratic nations rather than one of the world's great democracies.
Wikileaks has held back the CIA's actual malicious code so far, but cybersecurity experts see a different problem.
I am Paulo Shakarian. I am the CEO for CyberCon.
What Wikileaks has revealed is a how-to manual.
The broader impact is really what concerns me because we now have a know-how of how to set up cyber operations and do it on a budget that's available to every country on the planet.
It's a know-how that was painstakingly built up over years, not just by agencies, but also by a seemingly endless list of government contractors.
My name's David Kennedy. I'm the founder of TrustedSec and Binary Defense, and I've been in the security industry for a very long time, focusing on offensive techniques, how you break into computer systems, and how do you defend against them.
For those who study security vulnerabilities, the rise of private contractors in the U.S. has come with security risks.
So you have all of these different contractors, which have really been the cataclysmic fall of almost all of the different data breaches that we've seen. Snowden was a contractor. The CIA investigations that are currently happening with the FBI are focusing their efforts on contractors. So it really appears that contractors are things that we need to focus on.
WikiLeaks says they got a hold of these files after they'd been circulating among former government contractors out of the CIA's control.
This is a historic act of devastating incompetence.
Fair to say U.S. spies see things differently.
So I'm Alex Finley. I used to be an officer in the CIA's Directorate of Operations. It's probably a difficult and demoralizing time, I'm guessing, for people who are still on the inside.
For Finley, the fact that WikiLeaks dumped these files, the same outfit that released hacked emails during the election, suggests the real source of the CIA's stolen files was probably Russia.
When the entire U.S. intelligence community comes out in agreement, which doesn't often happen, comes out in agreement and says, we think that Russia has influenced the election, I find it hard to disagree with that because I know inside the internal process of actually putting something like that together and getting everybody to agree, it's quite rigorous.
And yet here we are.
Some U.S. spooks have a similar view of Snowden, who beams his anti-surveillance message from exile in Moscow.
History reminds us that governments always experience periods in which their powers are abused for different reasons.
No American intelligence officer ends up in Moscow on accident. Either the United States or Moscow makes sure that that doesn't happen. It's not on accident. So I don't think that the Russians have stopped in any way. I think they have continued with their typical modus operandi of propaganda, influence, and recruiting people.
The fear is that while Russia kept its focus on the U.S., American spies have spent the past 15 years preoccupied with chasing terrorists through war zones.
The money that came in and the personnel who came in and the way that the bureaucracy was built as a response has been clearly focusing the agency in that direction, on the war on terror. Rightly so. I mean, clearly that needed to be addressed. Unfortunately, what's happened when you do that is You're developing very different skills.
But while American spies may now be pivoting somewhat to deal with Russia, they are stealing enemy cyber secrets.
And if you look at the CIA documents, there's actually a group within the CIA called Umbridge that focuses on understanding code from other adversaries like Russia, like China, that focus on the techniques and tactics that they use. So we definitely have their intelligence. We have a lot of their code. We have a lot of what they leverage. We just don't disclose that or publish it.
U.S. adversaries, meanwhile, have gained something by shaking public trust in the U.S. government.
Let's assume for a minute that maybe there was a third party, like a foreign intelligence service that provided this information to WikiLeaks. If that foreign intelligence service had sort of got all they could out of the information, they could either discard it or they can use it for propaganda purposes, which may have been the case here.
If I was an adversary, this is exactly what I would do.
With or without fanfare, the more these breaches happen, the more cyber weapons proliferate. WikiLeaks sees its own CIA leak as a warning.
It is impossible to keep effective control of cyber weapons. If you build them, eventually you will lose them. They are just information.
But it's clear a cyber arms race is well underway. And as long as it continues, any world power that opts out is defenseless.